This is Hartford Whaler Nation. Welcome to Whaler Nation TV, live from Nutmeg TV, Farmington, Connecticut. Peter Hindle from NewExaminer.com. I'm Jerry Irwin. Exciting news over the last, week about the prospects of some people who want to bring the NHL back to Hartford. Apparently two groups are interested in maybe relocating a team, or if the NHL does expand to the two teams like they've talked about. The Hartford apparently is on a radar once again.
Yeah, actually, you know, we've noticed that the the plan to reinvigorate the XL was about a $35 million plan. A couple months ago, we heard in the Current about them saying that after this 10 years, what are we going to do with the XL Center? It might be too old by then to actually be considered an arena to attract concerts and along those lines. Mm-hmm. Would they look into refurbishing the XL completely, or would there be a new arena? And that's what we heard a couple months ago. A year ago, we heard that the governor had two groups that were interested in bringing a team to Hartford.
He was very vague on that.
He called it, and I quote, it was remote possibility.
And it was just very, it was kind of chatter more than actual discussion.
Right.
It sounds like within the last 6 months, there's been some significant talks going on.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely know that you know, that this is a little bit more on the lukewarm side. You know, we're not saying that the NHL is coming back, but the fact that there are people out there, and as Nick Kyprios, who's a former Whaler and also works on Twitter and various things reporting, you know, he had said that there were people that were interested in bringing a team to Hartford, and these might be those guys.
It could be. Yeah. And the other thing is, you look at what's happened over the past couple months. They talked about the refurbishment of the XL Center. There's been some speculation about building a new XL Center.
Right.
And that's in that downtown North project that the mayor outlined, and that's on the other side of Main Street over 84.
Right.
And when you have that, then all of a sudden, after 17 years, the Hartford Whalers have a Connecticut Lottery scratch ticket.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing. Yeah.
That means obviously the state of Connecticut, the Lottery Commission, has spoken with the NHL to get those rights
in order
for
to
the
do
logo.
the the licensing, I believe, for the Connecticut Lottery. It has the NHL logo on it. Second prize is $1,979, which was $1979. The team joined the league in the NHL that year, and they made, I think, about $1.5 million of these scratch tickets. They've been selling very well.
They have.
I don't know if that really
convenience
means
store up the street sells tons of them.
Right. I don't know if that necessarily means interest in the team, but
or there's a major gambling problem.
But yeah, this is true. But you know, it's true. Most of the store owners didn't even know. Maybe a little bit. Some of them didn't know what the logo was.
Exactly.
And they're finding out because people are buying it. But the scratch-off tickets came, and that was something that you think that the state might be working at making some money off the NHL. The NHL making a couple bucks off the lottery.
Early on, they had the scratch ticket for the Whalers one time.
Right.
But all of a sudden, after all this time, for a team and a dream that's been, for many people, it's a pipe dream of bringing back the NHL, whether it's the Whalers or any other name that would come to Hartford. All of a sudden you have this, you have the XL Center that they want to refurbish, then you have another conversation about building a new facility, then you have two groups who are interested in bringing the NHL back. It just goes to prove that Hartford's done a really good job over the years, including the AHL that's been here now for almost 17 years.
That's right.
They've created a hockey atmosphere. And like Governor Malloy said the other day, they want to couple that with the UConn Hockey East transition. Whether it's a new facility with the current facility, I think that's the way he's going to get some state funding involved.
Absolutely. You know, this 84 North plan was originally thought out with commercial, and I think it might have been some residential in there, you know, shopping, that type of thing. They apparently the rumor is that they do have a site that they would like to use if they would build a new arena. But that site is currently owned, I think, by LAZ. I think it's like a 23-acre parcel somewhere within the plan, or somewhere in that area. I'm not sure on the details, but it's been thought
the
of.
detail is they called it the 84 Cavern, or Canyon, as they called it.
Right.
And is that, what I have to, from what I've heard, it's when you go north on Main Street, or not Main Street, the Main Street area there. It's that canyon right there. I guess maybe it was where Fleet Bank, or before that it was National. Was that Connecticut National Bank?
Right.
National Bank.
Yeah.
Had their office building right there. It was at Windsor Street and Main Street.
Right.
Maybe that's the canyon they're talking about.
Right.
Which is right below 84, where it runs right before the river.
Right.
So maybe that's it. Mayor Segarra was not very specific on it because it is privately owned right now.
Right. And the other thing that was brought up a couple of years ago was that the elevated highways are reaching the end of their lifespan.
Yes.
And there was talk about putting 84 on the ground so that you could have easier in and out access into the city and into this new North Plan area where it's supposed to be a lot of commercial and residential, that type of thing. And it might also be in the Albany Avenue area where maybe they knock down or buy some property or along those lines.
We'll have to see what comes about. But it also, if you think about if the governor is really starting to push this, I mean, good for him for finally seeing that.
Right.
We really need a major league team in Hartford to keep Hartford alive.
Right.
And I mean that respectfully. We have businesses downtown. We have great restaurants, great pubs, and United Healthcare, Aetna, Travelers. They've done an awful lot to keep a lot in the city.
Right.
We're missing that major league component.
Right.
And especially if the governor is starting to push it, maybe it's trying to help his busway as well. The busway, remember, you get a major league team in there, you'll get more ridership, hopefully.
Yeah.
And once people get the stigma out of their system that it's a bus, we're not getting a light rail system for quite a while.
Right.
The bus system will work.
Right.
If they keep their promises up, it could be a viable system. I mean, look at CCSU, right on the bus line. The kids will be going into Hartford. They're going to build them. UConn is going to take over the Times building, the Hartford Times building.
That's right.
Central has, CCSU has agreed to build a building downtown. So, they're looking towards the future.
Right.
You posted something on Facebook the other day about how, was it the Constitution Plaza? Is that where it was? Or the Sonesta Hotel?
Yeah, the old Sonesta Hotel, which I believe might be made into dorm room space or some kind of a residential, is kicked into high gear, according to the article in The Current, which is great news because that hotel is sat idle for almost 30 years maybe.
Oh yeah.
It's full of whatever.
Whatever, yeah. Well,
so it definitely needs.
That's going to be the big cost when they take down that thing.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure if they can convert it or take it down.
Well, they're going to have to refurbish it if they're going to use the same
structure.
A
lot of work will have to be done.
There's a lot of asbestos, I'm sure.
But that's Columbus Avenue in Hartford. That's like the street that almost abuts the river besides the highway.
Yep.
And those riverfront buildings there are currently vacant too as well. Yep. So there's always a lot of empty space in Hartford, but the point is that you can probably get people to move in if you give them some kind of break with the state.
You get the incentive as well. You know, if there's things to do downtown, as a lot of people we've talked to, we've talked to the former CEO of Hartford, David Panagore, who's doing an awful lot with New Haven.
Right.
He was on the news the other night. They're doing a $5 million remodel of Union Station and the train station, and they signed a huge contract for retail space where the old New Haven Coliseum is. $300 million of retail space and other businesses downtown. So I think it's a great step for New Haven, because New Haven is quite a city when it comes to the downtown districts with the restaurants and that type of thing.
And you bring up a good point, because that's exactly what we don't want to see happen in Hartford, is what happened in New Haven. New Haven had a tremendous amount of hockey. I mean, they had the AHL, they had the Nighthawks, they had the Ottawa Senators, they had the Beast, New Haven Beast, which was actually the Carolina team of that first year. And when it came time for their arena to be replaced or removed, they went with the remove. They knocked it down. I think it was right across from Union Station, right there.
Yes, it was.
Down this giant parking lot. That would be just the worst thing, to not have a venue within Hartford. Whether it's a refurbished Excel or a new arena, we're still waiting to see. But that busway is also important, because that busway goes right into Hartford. It doesn't go into the the north end where this arena would be if it ever was built.
Well, it depends on the walking too. I mean, if you bring people to a certain area and they can walk to the game and it's convenient, people do that.
Right.
And the other thing is, let's be completely honest. If they build a brand new arena, they're going to bring a busway to the arena.
Yeah, I would think
they
so.
have to.
Yeah.
I mean, not only for hockey, but for
Concerts.
basketball,
Yeah.
UConn,
Concerts, or, yeah, whatever,
or whatever's going to take place at the XL Center.
Right.
You're going to have to bring those buses right up to the arena.
Yeah, and we also can talk about Jeff Jacobs, who jumped on. You know, the Current had put that in there. I think it was on Friday, where the governor said, you know, and basically what he said really was the two groups. He said we would be actively interested in making a bid. You know, if the price is right, and he clarified this very clearly,
yes.
if the state was not the sole proprietor
yes.
of building a new arena,
which they shouldn't be.
No, they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't.
No,
you know,
we don't want to be.
If the tie-in is with UConn, that they're going to use that facility,
Right.
then absolutely.
Right.
The state has been giving money to UConn
Right.
and the other state universities as well.
Right.
And I think it's a good thing to do. UConn generates a lot of money for downtown.
Right.
You know, you get 16,000 people when
Right.
UConn is good and they're playing strong. The women, of course, have been good for years.
Oh, yeah.
The men are up and down. And then when you go across the river, and they're playing football over there.
Right.
UConn, when they have some big games, look at Michigan. When they played Michigan
Yeah.
and played them
They had a
very,
good
very
crowd.
well this year,
Right.
they sold out that place.
Right.
And so, you know, you bring in these big, maybe it's not UConn playing great, but who they're playing can bring in a lot of people as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's
yeah.
what's going to happen with Hockey East. You
Yeah.
have Boston, you have Boston College, Boston University, Vermont, all these northern teams coming in, and it's a 2-hour ride.
Yeah.
So, you know, family members whose kids are playing hockey are going to come down the XL Center. That's more money for the downtown district.
All right.
So I'm excited to see what happens. Some of the conversation on social media has been, how big does it have to be?
Well, you know, I would think that the NHL would not want to go anything smaller than what Winnipeg has, obviously.
Which is 15,000.
Which is 15,000, but I think they might want to go a little higher, probably.
The same as the Barclays Center. That's a 15,000 seat arena. Actually, it's less than that.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you look at, you know, where does Hartford sit? And currently, with a very, very old XL Center,
right.
we still have a facility with 15,900
yeah.
Thereabouts, approximately,
right.
that can hold hockey.
Right.
Is still bigger than some of the smaller places.
Right. Yeah, and you know what? And it was a good point that somebody had brought up that you know it was one of the oldest arenas in the country to be in a capital city. So that kind of puts a little bit of pressure on you got to do something with it, and that's what they're kind of debating right now. You know, Jeff Jacobs, I thought. For as much as sometimes you can't stand what he says or you disagree with him or he makes you mad, I thought he was absolutely right on point. And what he said was, it cannot be done without UConn. We know that. That's a given. I mean, it has to involve UConn basketball, UConn in general. And the other thing he said is, there's two kinds of people and there's a third kind of person. And he said the first kind of person is Delusionville that thinks that on Christmas Eve, you know, Gary Bettman's going to deliver a franchise to Hartford.
Right, exactly.
And then there's, he said it was a negative word, but it was a Cynicalville.
Yep.
And that was the guy that said, no matter what this governor says, he's just a politician. He's trying to get votes, you know.
Right.
And the NHL's never going to happen. Now, there's definitely a middle ground there. The middle ground is they're at least talking about it. Last year it was a remote possibility. This year it is something that's actively going to be bid on. That's a huge change.
4 years ago,
in a small way. But
4 years ago,
yep.
our capital city had and met with the commissioner of the NHL.
Right.
4 years ago. 4 years ago was not that far away.
No.
So for that to happen 4 years ago, and where we are today with us being re-energized because now there's talk again, yes, we have to be very skeptical about what's going on, but it's a nice breath of fresh air that we are still on that radar. And that's the most important part about this. And when the NHL was here in Hartford talking, that's very big.
Right.
And yes, if they came once, they can come back again. And obviously there's enough interest out there with two separate groups. It's not just one. It's not a flash in the pan that the governor kind of blew off. This is. It seems like it's more significant over the last 6 months.
Right. And if you look at it, and as much as this may bother the state to hear, but Howard Baldwin's plan is actually kind of still being carried out only through their vision.
Sure.
You know, Howard had talked about renovating the XL, making it a state-of-the-art facility. Well, we're kind of doing that with the $35 million. They're
well,
kind of
what
doing
bothers
that, you know?
me is the XL Center is so old.
Yeah.
And if you're going to just patch it with $38 million, wouldn't it be easier to take that $38 million and put it towards a new arena? Because me as a taxpayer, who wants an NHL hockey team back, who wants the team named the Whalers, who wants the blue and green back, wants $38 million towards a new arena. Why would you patch a car that's going to die and we're going to knock it down, but we plugged in $38 million? I don't think so.
I think that honestly is the spit and glue to hold it together for the remainder of Global's contract.
But that's 10 years away.
It is, but that contract's going to go that length at any rate. They're not going to do anything officially with the XL, I think, until that contract's over. I don't think they'll keep 2 arenas.
Well, I think, but then again, you have 2 teams that are ready to relocate right now. Mm-hmm. What if the plan was, you have a guarantee from the state of Connecticut and whoever that you bring a club in here, mm-hmm. we promise to give you a new arena as part of that agreement of bringing in that club.
Then you put them in the XL for a few years, like they did in Raleigh before
and what
they went, or Greensboro,
and what they're attempting to do in Quebec. Now that stadium's at a standstill once again.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yes, it was on the internet the other day. And so now when you look at it, and yes, there's other cities vying for NHL clubs, but now you have 2 relocations and 2 possible expansion teams coming up in the next couple of years.
And you've got
is Hartford and the state of Connecticut going to let the opportunity go by? That 4 potential out of 4 teams, we're not going to get one because you're going to be stubborn and say no, we're going to patch a withering XL center just because we're not going to take the risk and say we need a new arena. You need a new arena anyways if you're going to keep UConn there. Okay, cancel out AHL. Okay, cancel out hockey. You're going to need it for shows, entertainment, and UConn, and to keep the downtown district alive. If you take away the arena, you've lost downtown.
Oh, absolutely.
And we cannot do it. It is the capital city. Yes, it's not as important as other cities by any means. But this is our capital city, and we know what a major league sport did to this city. As we've talked about, all the numbers in the past of jobs lost, how much money was lost the first couple of years. It's significant.
It is. It's remarkable. Now our competition would be and this is not in any kind of order, but Quebec, Seattle, Kansas City, Hamilton. Who else has been on the radar? Of course, Las Vegas.
But when you get into Hamilton,
I don't buy Las Vegas.
You have such a power struggle with Toronto. And Ottawa.
And Buffalo.
And you know, I see us having a chance more than Hamilton at this point. Because of what's happening up there. And it's just a power struggle of TV. You know, yes, we have New York and Boston.
30th largest media market.
And the other thing is, as you know, Jeremy Jacobs has said, I'd rather take a 2-hour bus ride, save money on jet fuel, to bring my team to Hartford, and then on to New York from there, if their schedules were lined up.
I think Glenn Sather said something along the same lines. You know, the Rangers in Boston, as much as, you know, the biggest excuse I hear is like, well, they're not going to put a team between Boston and New York. Well, they had one before. And on top of that, both Boston and New York are in favor of it. So, I mean, you know, the Rangers are going to release their territorial rights.
And then Hartford's current tagline for their marketing scheme is Hartford has it. Hartford has what?
Hartford
has an awful lot going on that is unfortunately not marketed very well. The one thing that I would love to see Hartford doing, you know, we talked to the Bushnell Park Foundation, we talked to other people downtown, is they really need to create an app where you can click on an app on your cell phone, on your smartphone, and say, what's happening in Hartford tonight? Boom. And you know what? There was one of the members of the Bushnell Park Foundation, great guy, talked to him for during the summer solstice, and he wants to do an app that you can click on it and they're going to tell you what's happening in Hartford tonight. You know, that's what Hartford needs. A lot of these small nonprofit groups do a great job, but they have to go outside the city. And, you know, I'm from Southington. You're from Manchester. We have to get out there and know what's going on. So if we're going to take the ride in, and unfortunately parking is, you know, but we know where to park. You can learn how to park downtown, and you can find what's going on. I mean, look at Winterfest right now. You have the rink's bigger. They drew more people last year again. It just keeps growing and growing.
Last year I believe it was like 70,000 people used that hockey rink that Bobby Crawford, I think he's involved in it this year.
He is involved, and he's part of the Bushnell Park Foundation. So you know, when you get into this, Hartford has so much tradition, and it's funny. Sean the other day, our co-host from previous shows, sent a picture to me from 1950. And it's funny because Amazon has introduced that they want to do home delivery with drones. Well, 1950, don't laugh, G. Fox landed helicopters in neighborhoods. And their pickup point was in Bushnell Park to pick up the goods and bring them out to the surrounding towns.
Wow, that's amazing.
There's newspaper footage that he sent me on the internet that G. Fox had home delivery by helicopter.
Wow.
It's amazing. And they show right behind it the Capitol right there.
Yeah.
Landing in Bushnell Park.
Wow.
It
No,
was.
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah,
Wow,
it
that's
was amazing. So
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot that people don't realize that Hartford had. You
Yeah.
know, Bushnell Park is unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
a great place in the
Yeah.
summertime, the
Oh,
summer
yeah.
solstice.
Very nice.
And all those people live downtown. A lot of the Bushnell Park Foundation
Yes.
people are downtown dwellers, as they call them.
Yes.
And they're very proud of what's downtown. And
Sure.
it doesn't close up after 5 o'clock.
Right, right.
So you know, I think it's neat that the push comes. I think at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's not that there's been this. There's no one saying we're definitely getting a team. It's just the
Right.
point that they're
There's
actually
conversation.
they're they're throwing their hat in the ring a little bit, you know,
They are.
and just testing the waters. And that's more than we could have all asked for as fans that have been, you know, asking for the return of the NHL. You know, we're not asking for everyone to throw every nickel and dime they have into a new arena. If we can, you know, hopefully get somebody to partner or something, and the state's willing to do it, that would be great, because now you have a busway that's going to, you know, a state-of-the-art arena for concerts, for
Sure.
games, all kinds of things.
Even bringing people downtown
Yeah.
is very important.
Right.
When we talked about, you know, the announcement from the governor's office the other day during his press conference, we talked about national. Sports Illustrated picked up that
That's right.
blurb
That's
and
right.
did a little blurb on,
Yeah.
hey, Hartford's putting their hat in the ring again.
Right, right.
And it shows that the governor putting that out there is stepping up.
Yeah.
And so, you know, whether it was him or our previous administration, we needed someone to get out there ahead of it. And I think Governor Malloy, just putting that out there, is showing there's some ray of hope there that
Yeah.
the state is now listening to its hockey fans, really.
Right.
And you know, I give all our hockey fans credits, whether you
Sure.
like the Wolfpack, the Connecticut Whale at the time, the Whalers, the Bruins, the Rangers.
Right.
It's hockey.
Right.
And Hartford is a hockey town.
Right.
And it can be just as big again, you know, with a major league sport.
Right, and you know, I actually did reach out on Twitter to, you know, Michael Kay and Don LaGreca do a New York radio show at Drive Time, and Don LaGreca is the intermission show guy. He sometimes does some Ranger games for the Rangers, and I sent him a tweet with the story, and I said, you know, tell me what you think. Do you think, you know, there's any steam behind this? Do you kind of look skeptically at it? And he said, you know, and it's very, very short-winded because I caught him in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
He says, very interesting. So, you know, even he's like, you know, this may have some legs.
Sure.
But it's just now it's a little bit of a wait and see if that, you know, goes any further. But the fact that he brought this up, you know, on a random kind of Friday, it caught everybody off guard a little bit. And it, you know, the naysayers are quieter. They're a little quieter
you know,
today.
and it's not to prove anyone wrong by any means. And of course, yes, we're two guys who want the Whalers back. We're just two guys in front of cameras that are speaking for the people who are Whaler fans, who are still disgruntled, which you have to stop doing that, because it's a lot better to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem.
Yeah, right.
And you know, you see our email addresses at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
We encourage you to throw your questions in.
Absolutely.
And we'll bring them up on our shows as we go on. We're not going anywhere. We have a great studio here in Nutmeg.
We signed up for
TV.
another season.
We
so.
signed up for another season. We're going to go through March. So, you know, the more we keep on going and the more we can use your voice as the people who care about hockey in Hartford, send your questions in. We'll be more than happy to entertain you. If you want to come on the show, let's see what we can do, and we'll have some guests on the show. I think it'd be a great idea to talk about what's out there in Hartford and why Hartford hockey has lasted so long and has been so strong. The Wolfpack has been very good with their playoff run, and their attendance has been up and down.
Right.
And it also depends on what season we're in.
Yeah.
When we get into you know, football season,
Yeah.
we get into the playoffs, and it's tough. You know, we're in a smaller with the AHL. People tend to watch their football team instead of a Sunday afternoon game.
Sure, sure. And it was even Malloy said in that Friday quick talk that he had. You know, he said, I want people out there to know that Connecticut is a good hockey state. He goes, you know, we have the UConn's going to be in the Premier, and he was really pushing the UConn thing, being we're bringing UConn into Hockey East to bring more people into the city. And he said, don't let the poor attendance, AHL attendance, you know, define this market. You know,
we have really good hockey fans here.
Yeah,
We have, you know, whether you're dealing with the Pee Wee kids, you know, and all those parents that trudge their kids off at 5 a.m. to go to practice. The high school. I mean, we saw it when we had the outdoor game. We had a lot of great talent right here in Connecticut. The Hartford Whalers Booster Club last year gave a scholarship to a young lady. Or I'm sorry, a year before, a young lady who played 4 years of hockey for town of Wethersfield.
Yep.
And from what I heard, I just talked to someone the other night at the Wethersfield Newington game before Thanksgiving, and she was quite good. And I guess her brother's playing on the team.
Oh, really?
Currently.
Really? That's
Yep.
great. Well,
so you know,
he'll probably be in the running. For,
good for the Whalers Booster Club gave a $1,000 scholarship, as they do every year, and they deserve a great deal of credit. For a small club, they really do the right thing by giving to numerous charities throughout the Connecticut area, Hartford area.
Right.
And you know, that's another group that has kept the spirit of the Whalers alive for many years, is the Whalers Booster Club and their members.
Right, right. And you keep thinking, you know, how many years is it going to happen where people are going to come in and ask a couple questions, is Connecticut interested in an NHL team, before, you know, how many are we going to pass up? You know, we don't even know how many we've passed up already. It's just that the vernacular's really changed within the state. And you know, I just want to make a note on Michael Freemus said this on Dennis House when he was, you know, Face the State.
Face the State. Yeah.
And this was almost a direct quote from Freemuth. He said, you know, I think that the NHL probably regrets leaving Hartford. He said that.
I think they do too.
Yeah,
because if you look at, you got the Quebec, you know, you have Winnipeg.
Right.
You know, okay, Winnipeg's been reintroduced again.
Right.
Quebec wants to be reintroduced again,
Absolutely.
and the NHL is not going to turn down Quebec.
Right.
And if they're still knocking on our door,
right.
I think they've, like you said, they really want to bring Hartford back into the mix.
Right, right. And like you said, just it was like 4 or 5 years ago that Connecticut had met with the Board of Governors in the NHL.
Yep.
And you know, it's true that Bettman had said it, I think, around that time, or at least maybe it might have been last year, that they do pay attention to Hartford. They do pay attention to the TV ratings, especially, you know, which have been very good.
I mean, look at last year for the ratings with Boston,
Yeah.
and getting into the playoffs, and the year before.
Right.
I mean, we were right up there.
Yeah, we were right behind Detroit at
Yep,
one point,
exactly.
which is, you know, a hockey town.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's very good, very good. It's a little bit of ray of sunshine. If he come out and said the opposite and said, you know, 2 more guys came up, we told them, guys, get lost. You know, we're UConn minor league. You know, that would have hurt. You know,
It really would have.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a quick half hour. We've done a really good show. I mean, we have a lot to discuss. So, you know, our next taping, we're gonna hopefully get some of your emails in, and we can put you guys out on the path, hitting the bricks and beating the drum. And until next time we see you, remember, we're one nation under green, Whaler Nation. Have a good night.